Hey, Mark. Hi, Jermaine. Hey, Rich. How are you?
Mark, how are you, man?
Doing great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Hi. How are you? Good. Hey, I appreciate you looking at that. Yes.
Good. Thank you for flagging that.
I know I was really good. Thank you. I was having that one issue and I was glad because of yes.
Oh, happy that I can.
Yes.
Then my children are stuck in the airport, my sister-in-law's house.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, well, luckily it's it, but it's still raining real heavily. I mean, they were trying to see if we could get a car or put a flight out. We're supposed to be going back to Memphis last night at 5 o'clock. I remember that. I tell you that I was thinking about this with my son and Brady. Their computer thing, last night. And so I spent the night in the airport. We got to Atlanta at 3:30 in the morning, and we got to Chattanooga at 10 o'clock the next day.
Folks, let's wait just a couple of minutes. I just got a text from one of our members. He's running a few minutes behind. It's in your little form and then get going. Appreciate everyone's patience. Yeah.
How's the job? Okay.
Productive. Built for several hours. That might be calls.
That's great.
Monday's always a good time to catch up.
Yeah.
Slow down. I didn't have a single slow down.
Oh, that's
Not even at Shalford Road or.
That's wonderful.
Good. It's so easy. What's first year? I got up really early to work on this presentation.
Yeah.
I'm standing here making coffee and then pop, pay for that. Like the entire neighborhood power went out. That's some squirrel or something must have happened. So I was able to, I had no line, but I was able to use my hotspot and my laptop with this charge to finish and send that to you guys. It was frustrating.
So you use your hotspot from your phone?
I have a separate one the firm has. It's even stronger, a little bit better than I used to get.
So anything function with no power?
It was charged. It has a battery that was charged. Yeah, I felt pretty technologically savvy. I was happy.
Get the house.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to bring this meeting to order of the Chattanooga Industrial Building Board, August 5th, 2024. Do you want to note for the record that this meeting was duly advertised? We do have a quorum present. Members, you've got the minutes from our July 1st meeting in your packet, which I'll ask you to take a look at right now. And please let me know if you have any questions or comments regarding those.
You already have a presentation.
I make a motion, we approve them.
There's a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes have been approved. Thank you very much. Right now, I'll recognize any persons from the public wishing to address this board on any matter. And seeing none, I'll take us to the first order of business, which is a presentation of the E2I2 quarterly report and Class A power project update. Mr. Heinzer, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you.
I don't know, is it up on your screens yet? Okay, great. I don't see it up here, so that's okay. So thank you. My name is Mark Heinzer. I'm the administrator for the city's wastewater department. And just a reminder, this is the E2I2. This is the big storage tanks, temporary storage tanks for high flow wastewater in our collection system. SSO abatement. SSO is sanitary sewer overflow. So that's what we're talking about today. We're trying to eliminate overflows. And get my thing to work here. It is not advancing. Is there a power button on here? Where is that?
On the side. Okay. Keep going that way.
There we go. There we go. I think so. There we go, yeah. My apologies. Okay, so here's our agenda. We've got about 12 slides. It's not a very long presentation, but we're going to talk about our program overview, where we're at. We'll talk about the project cost. We are now at a point where we actually have the guaranteed maximum price from the design build contractor. We'll talk about the project schedule and then the next steps coming up. So E2I2, again, this is our acronym for Environmental and Economic Infrastructure Improvement. It is a joint project between the city, the IDB, and the Hamilton County Water and Wastewater Treatment Authority, and they are financial partners in this project as well. The goals obviously are to reduce the sanitary sewer overflows. It is also a project that is dictated in our consent decree, so we do have to do this project in one way, shape, or form. And so we are checking that box as well with this, but obviously the main thing here is to improve our water quality in our streams and creeks. And then also it will allow for more economic growth. So this will increase capacity in our collection system so that we can accept new flows from new industries and new developments around the region. Again, we are doing the progressive design build delivery model on this. We selected our design builder last summer, and they are here with us today if we have any questions for them. And then the city will then take ownership of the project when construction is complete. So this phase of the project where we're in construction is where the IDB and the city has this partnership of getting this project delivered, and then the city will take it over and own it and maintain it in perpetuity after that. And so what we're talking about here, as I mentioned, large storage tanks. The picture on the right is our Ham Road facility, which has been working very well for us and has saved millions of gallons of wastewater from getting into the Tennessee River already. And it's only been operational for a little over a year and a half or so. So we're replicating that model on two different sites. One is called the West Chickamauga site down near the interchange of I-24, I-75, and that'll be 30 million gallons. And then another 10 million gallon facility up on South Lee Highway. And so those areas also do experience overflows from time to time. And so these facilities will then rectify that, and we will no longer have those problems in those areas. So now I'm going to turn it over to Justin Bolender with Jacobs Engineering, who's our owner's agent on this. And we'll go through the rest of the slides here.
Hi, good morning. As Mark said, I'm Justin Bolender. I'm honored to be here talking with you this morning. I'm the owner's advisor, so Jacobs acts in that role, but I'm also the deputy program manager for the consent decree program, so I'm intertwined in all of the Clear Chattanooga program and the things that we're doing. So just as a project status and update, we wanted to present this information to you all and allow you to ask any questions. So we've been on a journey here for the past year. We started last summer, and we've completed what we're referring to as the phase 1 design. So that is from start to 60% design, and we've reached the milestone where we've received the 60% GMP, as Mark mentioned. You can see on the screen here, $147.8 million. That is the cost for the remainder of the design and the completion of the construction. So I'll go through the schedule here in a moment. So the other parts and pieces for today are to discuss the change order number 1, which there's a resolution today for your consideration and approval, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail on the next slide. Also on the agenda for the day is approval of a bucket of money to use for easement acquisition. We've been going through this process. We have approximately 20 easements, and this lump sum here will count for what we're able to use to purchase those easements. Now, we're going through appraisal processes. We use a firm to help us with those negotiations, and of course, all of those offers are backed up by those appraisals and fair market value. So just as a quick update, we've completed our 60% design. That was completed in June. We're continuing with permitting and easement acquisition. Upon approval of the GMP, we'll complete the final design and move forward with the rest of the project. So the change order that we talked about has a lot of detail in that change order document. If you review that, there's a lot of separate other project change orders that we've used over the past year or so, and they account for the deduct of some work. They account for additional permitting and other utilities to connect to the EQ stations themselves, water lines, et cetera. We've added efforts for easements and some additional surveying and site access design. We also have some early work that we did on the retaining walls to meet our schedule and get with our manufacturers and get that project started, get that process started for the retaining walls. So overall, we're financing the project through a WIFIA loan. There is a deadline on executing this work, and I'll show that in the next slide in the timeline. But overall, we're funding the project with approximately half with the WIFIA loan and half with fund balance. And the total $153.7 million does include the phase 1 costs as well. So the GMP is 148 change, but including that original phase 1 work, the total project costs 153.7 at this point. So Mark mentioned the cost sharing and the partnership with WWTA. So WWTA is invested in part of this project in the West Chickamauga site. They're responsible for they're responsible for exactly 30% of that cost. The approximate amount there is that we haven't agreed on that final cost with you all and with WWTA, so I'm listing that as approximate there, but they will be responsible, WWTA is responsible for a down payment and then monthly payments for 20 years to complete that amount, which matches the payback on the WIFIA loan as well, 20 years. So they don't have investment in operating and maintenance. They're just financing the project, and their IJA is being adjusted to get that benefit that will help their system as well and help economic development. So the city is responsible for the engineering, the construction, the maintenance, and the operations of the part that WWTA is contributing to. So overall, you can see we started this project in July of 2023. We're expecting to complete in May of 2027. Down in the bottom right, you'll see the WIFIA deadline, December 31st, 28. So we're well within that deadline, and we don't expect much change from that May 27th. We feel like we're going to hit it. We've got a little wiggle room if we have to add scope or we have to change things up a little bit. But the main thing is that we've got our GMP, we've got our schedule. We plan to present this GMP to you all at the next meeting at August 26th for consideration and approval, so we can move forward with issuing this phase 2 design build phase, which includes final design and construction. It'll take us through final design completed around April of 25, with construction completing out in May of 27. So overall, and this is my last slide today, so we'll be, as I mentioned, we'll be presenting this approval to you guys at the next IDB meeting on the 26th. And with that, you'll see execution of the final design starting in September of this year and completing next spring, and construction completing in May of 27. That's all I have.
Great.
Any
Thanks,
questions?
progress. Thank you.
I got a
Any
question.
questions? Yes, sir.
Will your work include working with Tennessee American Water Company, because they've had an extremely large amount of water pipe bursting and leakage lately?
This project doesn't address that specifically. They are supplying water to use at these facilities, so we will have connections to their system, but this project doesn't address the reliability of their system.
How big is this system that we're adding on here in comparison to what you already have on Ham Road?
Great question.
So Ham Road is 30 million gallons, so you have three 10 million gallon tanks.
Yes.
At the West Chick site here, I think we're going to have two 15 million gallon tanks, so we're still at 30 million gallon tanks for that location. And the other location up north of there is a 10 million gallon. So this is about, about a 25% more capacity overall than what we have at Ham Road. The one site kind of reflects Ham Road very closely, and the other one is a smaller location.
Yes, sir. And the purpose of this is during peak weather event seasons on here, this will help hold the, I guess, the affluent that is coming in, the flood waters here in there, as well as sewage coming through a combined system, correct?
Correct. So when we get a big rain event, a lot of water finds its way into the old pipes. The pipes are very old in some parts of town, and water will find its way in and increase the flow. What that does is kind of overruns the collection system, overruns the pipes, and they can't handle all that rain. And then you get a mix of rainwater and wastewater spilling out of the collection system, whether it's out of a manhole or out of a leak or something like that. And so the whole consent decree was around stopping those instances from happening, and this is just a continuation of all the efforts that we've done to do that. This is going to resolve a number of different points of overflow that we know we have. So we get reports of overflows, and we map them. We know where they are. We know how often they occur. And then these projects are situated to address those prime locations.
And this is something that the EPA and TDEC will approve here based upon what we've been doing previously, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, sir. And it makes us a lot less likely to kill fish, right?
Exactly.
All right, good.
Is this situation unique to Chattanooga in any way? I mean, has Knoxville, Nashville encountered this, or?
So Nashville has some combined sewer areas. They get a lot of inflow and infiltration into their system as well. I think KUB, Knoxville, had a consent decree before we did, if I'm not mistaken, and they've made a lot of improvements up there. It is not unique across the nation. So having consent decree and having these storage facilities is not unique. Atlanta dug tunnels to do theirs, right? They have massive tunnels underground to hold their excess flow. That's a very expensive proposition. Of course, their real estate, they felt was worth it to put it underground. But for us, we have a location that made sense financially to put it above ground. So that's what we do. I think Cleveland, Ohio also has some underground storage, so it's not unique. You don't usually see them above the ground necessarily, but those do exist in other cities as well. So it's a pretty common way to handle this situation. It's one of a number of things that we do. So we rehab pipes, we upgrade pump stations, and we do some storage. Like, we kind of do a little bit of everything to handle everything that's going on.
Thank you. Other questions?
Thank you.
Well, we have two related resolutions to this. I'll read them and ask the board to consider them in order. Resolution 6A, resolution authorizing the expenditure of up to $450,000 for the purchase of temporary and permanent sanitary sewer easements in accordance with city purchasing rules for the construction of contract number W20001-201 E2I2 SSO Abatement Program Phase 1 South Lee Highway and West Chickamauga EQ stations. Questions on this? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 6B, a resolution approving change order number 1 with Brasfield and Gorey LLC of Birmingham, Alabama for contract number W20-001-201, I apologize, E2I2 SSO Abatement Program Phase 1 South Lee Highway and West Chickamauga EQ stations to increase by $238,624 due to additional design and property services for a revised amount of $5,130 for a total amount of $5,368,624. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Nolan. Item number 7 under resolutions, a presentation overview of subordinate TIF financing needed for the South Bend Stadium project. If I understand properly, this is a presentation, not anything that will require this board's action today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jermaine Freeman from the Mayor's Office of the City of Chattanooga. And so, as some of you may remember, and as many of you are all aware, we've already held the groundbreaking for the stadium project, and so work is commencing. As some of you may remember, in order to make the financing possible for the new stadium, the City Council and County Commission each approved amendments to the economic impact plans for the project back in mid-June. Those amendments allow for a restructured financing that allows for excess tax increment from the city to be used to pay off around $26 million of subordinate financing that is necessary to get the stadium to completion. So today I'm going to ask Mark Mamentov to come up and talk a little bit about the financing structure and about what the board will be asked to do at a future meeting. So at this point, I'll ask Mark to come up. Thank you.
Hi, Mark Mamentov. I guess I'm Jermaine's sidekick, and I am here today. And from Knoxville, where I spent a lot of time working on sewer overflows. I always joke that put my kids through college because I'm very grateful that KUB borrowed a lot of money for that. So I'm here today, though, to talk about baseball stadiums and where we are. We'd hoped to, not hope, we thought we were going to bring the documents to you all today, but because the financing has been not postponed, but with the various calendars of the underwriters, rating agencies, looks like we're going to go to market the first week of September. And so that's why we really appreciate y'all moving your September Labor Day meeting up a week so that we could bring this back to you. But given how complicated this structure is, and I know many of you are going to say, I've been there, done this, why are you wasting my time? I hope you won't, but we thought we'd go over with what we'll be bringing you here in a few weeks. So let me see, I guess I have the clicker. So as a reminder, here's the sources of financing for the stadium. The Sports Authority is issuing 2 series of bonds totaling $80 million. One series is taxable. That's what's going to be payable from the lease payments, and one series is tax exempt, which will be payable. I'll talk about the sources for that. Then as to bridge the gap that took us so long to bridge, the city has agreed to back an additional $5 million of debt from hotel motel taxes, from sales taxes that hopefully will be generated within the area of the stadium, outside the stadium itself. And that's $5 million for a total of 85. And then the difference, the 26 million is the tax increment financing that I will get to. This is where you guys come in. This is your critical portion of this financing. There's also $3 million of equity coming from the team and $1 million of interest earnings on the $80 million that we expect for a grand total of roughly $115 million to pay for the entire project. So what is going to pay for this? Again, there's a special law that says we get the state sales tax off the stadium itself. So 5.5% of the 7%. That's a significant amount of money. So everything sold at the stadium will get it roughly, say, $700,000 to $900,000 a year based on what estimates we have. Then you have the rent, the $1 billion a year payable by the team. Then you have the city tax increment revenues pursuant to the economic impact plan that you all approved now a long time ago. Then the county tax increment revenues from the South Broad District, also approved by the county IDB, and I'll talk about those agreements in a minute. And then the city and the county have agreed to make up any shortfall on the AB bonds, as I mentioned, with the city agreeing to do the same thing on the $5 million C bond. So this is this in a chart form, essentially. So we have the A and B bonds, which are the Sports Authority bonds. The A bonds will come from those sales taxes I mentioned, then from tax increment, with the city and the county providing the backstop. The B bonds are expected to be paid fully from team rent. If the team defaulted, it'd be paid payable from the tax increment, and then again, the backstop from the city and the county equally. Then we have the subordinate $5 million C bonds, which I've described, backstop by the city, and then we have the $26 million that would be your all's borrowing. Again, non-recourse to this board, solely payable from tax increment revenues, but that is the fourth leg of our four-legged chair. And so it's a critical part of this financing. So how is this all going to work? So the sales tax revenues are paid monthly as they're collected by the state to the Sports Authority, so it'll flow directly to the bond trustee for the Sports Authority. Team rent will get paid semi-annually to the Sports Authority and will end up there. This is your all's big slide. So the county collects their taxes. They figure out what the increment is from the South Broad District. It flows through the county IDB because they did a separate economic impact plan under an interlocal agreement that you have already approved and it's been signed. It will flow from the county IDB to this board, and then this board will agree to contribute it to the Sports Authority to pay debt service. And so it will go into it'll be segregated by the county, not the county trustee, excuse me, the bond trustee into two accounts, a county increment account and a city increment account, so that it can be tracked. Sorry, let me go back to that 1 second. And so once it goes to this city increment account, and I should have added a slide here, it will be used to pay debt service on the AB bonds, debt service on the C bonds, in other words, the $85 million. Once it crosses the threshold that between team rent, sales tax revenues, and these tax increment revenues, once they're adequate to pay the debt service on those bonds, the ABC bonds, then it will, the city portion only, not the county portion, the city portion only will flow back to this board to be available to pay the $26 million tax increment notes that would be held by the team and by the site owner. The site owner, I should have said this, is 10 million of the 26, and the team is 16 million of the 26, and the team is contributing an additional 3 million for a total of $19 million. So in other words, they're taking the risk that if the area doesn't develop like everyone hopes and believes around the stadium, that they won't get paid. I mean, it is because there's no backstop in any form whatsoever from this entity, from the city or the county on those tax increment notes. So what have you already approved? Well, you approved the economic impact plan and the amendment that we came back with you all a few months ago to revise the financing plan. You also have approved the intergovernmental agreement with the county IDB where they give you their increment to flow through. So what will we be coming to you on August 26th? So we'll have these tax increment financing documents. You'll see a loan agreement, two loan agreements, one between the team and this board, and one between the site owner, Pipe Properties, and this board. The Pipe Properties one is to do the initial, what I call pad-ready type work to have the stadium site. They're donating the site, and then they're going to spend $10 million basically getting it ready, clearing up any remaining environmental needs, having it ready to go so that we can immediately get to work. And Bill Payne, on behalf of the city, has been working very closely, and his team, and Clay Oliver, I should have said as well, have really been a great team, and they're working closely with the developer to coordinate the mutual construction aspects of the deal. And then the team's increment financing is largely going to be used to finish out the stadium. Everything from the equipment that's needed, the netting, the seating, things like that. And so it all will end up part of the stadium, but that's where their $19 million will go. We basically had those documents ready, but the issue that we're trying to finalize and work through is what we don't want to happen, obviously, from a community perspective, is that while we're building the stadium, that there's any default on either of those things, because we want to make sure that that $19 million is there when we need it. And Jason's been really good, and I know Rich is here today to work with us. We just, he is working with First Bank. He's been a really good, I think, civic partner, and we're trying to, they're just now starting to draft loan documents. So I'd like to be able to come in front of you in a few weeks and say, hey guys, we got the First Bank loan done. We've worked out through all those issues and be able to give you all a positive report. And then simultaneously with that, we'll have a revised interlocal agreement with you all in the Sports Authority, because originally all the money was flowing up the Sports Authority and staying here. Now it's coming back to you all once the debt service. So this we're fixing it so that once the trustee, for the bond trustee for the Sports Authority says, oh, I've got enough to pay those bonds, I'll give the excess back to the board to pay debt service on these TIF notes. So this is what will be coming in front of you all on the 26th. Questions? Tried to keep it brief today, but thought it might be helpful to not just blindside you all in a few weeks.
I appreciate that. Do I understand, Mark, the intergovernmental agreement, that will sort of memorialize the transfers of these funds? I mean, or just so we're not every month having to approve batches of money flowing back and forth?
Yes,
Okay.
you will not have to do monthly approvals of these transfers. They'll happen automatically.
Okay, thank you. Will we get yearly or quarterly? How often are we going to be updated on the status of these?
As much as you would ask, I mean, the documents say that you can get reports whenever you want. A great part is obviously the city provides you all great support, and I know Eleanor's here today, I believe, there she is, and I know Javed, and I met Javed's back there, and I think they will be administering this from a financial perspective and can provide you, I would recommend probably quarterly updates, so I think it would be good for you all to have at least for the time being.
Sure, okay, that makes sense. Thank you. The flow chart slides were particularly helpful to visual learner like me. Any other questions from my other board members?
I do, but it might not be for you as much as it is for the city, because the last time that this had come up in this body, there had been discussions about a community benefits agreement, and then I read in the newspaper that it kind of fell apart. So I kind of wanted to hear, and I know that involves a developer. It seems like most of what we're talking about involves the site and the team owner because the financing is through them, but I just wanted to hear about where it kind of fell apart.
Well, it hasn't fallen apart. From what you probably saw reported in the media, it was revived. And so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and so the primary group that is working on behalf of the community to negotiate the community benefits agreement is the Bethlehem Center. And so the Bethlehem Center is working with the developers. They actually have a meeting today to discuss the community benefits agreement. So they are still working through it. And
Are all the original folks in that group, or some of them?
no, I would not say that all of the original folks, all of the original parties that were part of the original mix are not in that group. At the same time, though, I think from the city's perspective, we have continued to say that we still want to see a community benefits agreement. However, we also understand that we're not a party to it. But we are encouraged that the Bethlehem Center is working with the developers along with the South Chattanooga Community Association to continue to move it forward.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Any other questions? So we'll have, the board will have two items to consider at the next meeting. Am I understanding that properly? Okay. Any other questions about this while we've got Mark and Jermaine in front of us? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thank you.
Two items of other business for discussion. One would be a response letter to the Comptroller of the Treasury for financial audit. Ms. Liu, I think you've drafted something for us to look at. Maybe you can bring us up to speed on where we are with that.
Yes, I'm Eleanor Liu with City of Chattanooga Finance Department. This letter is the response to the letter we received from State Comptroller's Office. As we discussed before in previous meetings that we did with our external auditor's approval, we will remove that interest payout liability from our financial statement and leave that in the note section. So that will remove the deficit we show on the financial report right now.
And members, this is the last page in your packet if you're looking at this. This looks great to me. Just from a procedural standpoint, do we vote on this? Is there anything we need to do administratively?
I guess it's going to be signed by you as chair in that regard. Just make sure that everybody's okay with you signing it as chair.
Yeah, I didn't know if that required a vote. If there's any discussion that we need to have about this, you might remember this goes back, I don't know, 3-4 meetings ago that we'd gotten a letter from the comptroller indicating they had some questions about some of the accounting that they saw. So I believe this addresses it satisfactorily. I'm happy to hear any discussion or questions about this before we move on.
Ms. Lou, have you been in contact with the comptroller's office such that you feel like this will work? Is that the idea?
I have not personally contacted with them, but then from the conversation we had, this is all they needed for us to remove the deficit. They actually did not really require us to formally respond to this letter. All they want to know is in the upcoming financial statement, we won't show a deficit, and we won't.
Okay.
So it's just an accounting, we're moving it to another
Yes.
bucket per se?
Yeah, just changing the presentation, that's all.
I think your lawyer would appreciate y'all sending a letter to them, at least saying we're responding, and if there's anything else they want us to do, let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll do this and hopefully we'll get a response back and we will.
Yeah, hope we won't hear anything from them again.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll be happy to sign. I thank you very much for your work on getting this generated for us. Last item on this agenda, FYI, copy of the IDB annual debt report filed with the Comptroller's Office. Eleanor, is this also you or who speaks to this?
I believe Maria is the one filed with the state.
Okay, Maria, any update on this?
I think Mr. Knoblich can.
Pass to you, Phil.
Yeah, we just do an update each year that we file with the state, telling them any outstanding tax increment financing or pilot arrangements that y'all have with this body. We list those and send them on to them each year. It's required by law, and we did that.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we adjourn, any other items of discussion or concern for this board? I did want to note that our next meeting, we are going to be a little irregular because we're running into some time-sensitive needs, and we do have the Labor Day coming up. So our next meeting, I believe we have a quorum confirmed for the 26th of August, which is a few Mondays from now. I will not be here, so I'll ask Vice Chair Jones to chair that meeting for us, but we should have a quorum for that, and sounds like plenty to work on. So I will be, appreciate everybody being here for that, and I'm sorry that I won't be able to join you, but August 26th at 11 o'clock here in this room, if I understand properly. Anything else from anyone else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
No move.
And we are adjourned.